every different kind of way of life is just another form of life, right? It's still life, isn't it? And if you're destroying life, you're destroying life. A friend of mine said to me the other night about police officers, don't they realise that every single time they bust anybody for anything, you actually destroy that person's life? And you need to destroy so many people's lives in such a short amount of time in order to get some recognition for your ability to destroy people's lives effectively? And that's how you get your brownie points kind of thing, or at least that's how he put it. The reality is somewhat different, but the fact of the matter is a lot of people's encounters with police are not positive nor lawful in many cases. Not all, of course, but the fact of the matter remains: the police in New Zealand, at least, still see themselves as the country's largest gang. And that's essentially what's going on. Now, I've been involved with real gangsters before, I met with them, talked with them during activism things that I was doing and what have you. And they're just like the police, really nice and friendly and what have you, but they can frickin' kill you and get away with it.
Yeah. Well, see, where I come from, it's kind of a sleepy back working men's town. Do you know what I mean? It was all this town grew up on pits and mills and stuff like that. So you've got honest people here. Do you know what I mean, Vinny? You've got honest people, and locally you do have honest people who do so happen to be police constables. You have honest people, believe it or not, who are traffic wardens, and you have honest people who are solicitors. But the further you get into the inner cities and the further into the system, into the network, they get bigger and bigger and bigger, and they're not as corruptible down at the bottom levels. There's still some honest people there. I've had some positive encounters with coppers. I've encountered maybe one or two pricks.
Have you noticed, like I have, that the ones who tend to be real pricks are the ones with the highest rank?
Well, see, I've never been involved with anybody personally. And from my experience, the coppers who I met, when I was talking to them, they hadn't got a clue what I was talking about. But when I explained a bit to them, they understood it, but they're paying a mortgage. You know what I mean? But I know the type of blokes who put a uniform on, and then because I lack something in myself worth, I have to go and be better than somebody and will do something. I told you the story of the fellow with the mobile phone, and he tried to get into contract into a fine. What was the point to that? There was absolutely no point to it. Once he saw it in the drinks holder, he should have just gone, "Oh, I'm sorry to bother you, sir. I just wanted to warn you that you shouldn't be on your phone." Boom. That would have been it. But no, obviously there was something that he needed, either to tick a box, to get so much revenue in for a bonus. I don't know how they work it, but they employ certain types of people, and you've seen that certain temperament start to creep in. But like I said, it's more when you get to the inner cities. I mean, there's a lot of stuff around over here at the moment about the Metropolitan Police, good and bad, and deaths in custody, that's being talked about a lot.
Yeah.
And the fact that one guy got shot in the head, and the police officer, this was 2 years ago, and the police officer has been found not guilty of manslaughter, and you don't understand. It's like,
well, can I explain? Here's an illustration of your point there. I think 1,348 people in New Zealand have been killed by police in the line of duty since 1968. Guess how many police have ever been prosecuted or fired because of it? 0.
I was going to say I had to go for 0. It's
the same system, isn't it?
Yeah, but you see it throughout how the system now is stretched into management of all kinds. You've got management teams that have come in with an agenda, and basically they're just politicians. You hear the same rhetoric
in
the new world and stuff like that. It's the same rhetoric. The stuff doesn't work because the resources aren't there, and the resources the lack of resources are a myth. We're being robbed That's why. There's not lack of resources. If anything, we're heading towards where we've got a lack of skills. You know, because
a lack of intelligence.
I'm certainly not a skilled worker. I'm a bit of a jack of all trades. I can do bits and bats. I start skirting boards and don't finish them and things like that. But we've got no. I know people who are draftsmen. I know people who are engineers. I know people who can, make a car out of nothing or make an engine out of nothing. We're running short on people who are like that because of the lack of opportunities. And then we just listen to absolute bollocks and rhetoric of people who aren't in a position to help you, even if they wanted to. Because these people get into you don't get into any prominent positions these days if you're not in with the agenda. As simple as that. And when you've gone through all the research about how these laws have been brought in and how they affect us, and you're indoctrinated into giving certain pieces of information at certain times, and that you call that life because that's what you're taught. Well, that's like voting for Labour. Why? Because my dad did. That's not good enough anymore. It really isn't. And I really do wish it was, because I miss just worrying about going out for a pint and watching football. That I miss that. Those were my two main worries. I hope I finish work early enough so I can watch footy tonight. And if it was like that, that would be a rest.
It would be nice.
Eh?
It would be nice, if life was fun. If you step out your door and you don't suddenly see all this legal scumbaggery all around you and all of this taxation and basically, I don't know what it's like for other people, but for me, everywhere you look, there's something that you hate and you want to change, but you can't change it all at once. No.
Well, when I stopped trying to convince people of this stuff, I found myself in a lot better place, because
it's depressing because I don't listen.
It is, but I've seen a deep end of the spectrum, Vinny. I had one of the first meetings I ever tried to hold in my local. A lad came along, and he was a self-employed lad. He bought this house himself. He'd done it all up. It'd taken him 2 years, and it was perfect. And he got with this girl, and things happened, and she decided she wanted half of his house now. And she was with him for 8 months. So he went to court. He got fleeced with the solicitors. They took everything off him. He got very depressed about it. Ended up drinking a lot, and then he got into a relationship that was exactly the same toxicity as the other one, because when you're in a bad place like that, that's what you're going to attract. And he ended up putting a pipe in his van and taking himself out. And he argued with me all night, Vinny, that black was white, about that banks must make money because they're a business. They must make money. That's what it's about. It's about making money. And he couldn't grasp the fact, even though he'd been through the system, he couldn't grasp the fact that the system, the tables are tilted, the dice are loaded.
Well, what is money? The business's purpose is to make money. Okay, what's money? Money's nothing. Okay.
Exactly. That's what they make it very well, though.
I know, it's like I'm making nothing. It's like people who play computer games and brag about their high scores, when the reality is they actually just spent 17 hours playing that game to accomplish nothing.
Well, that's self-satisfaction, isn't it? But exactly, this is what they do. It is self-satisfaction on behalf of how they do it.
It's kind of like a dog, here's your reward for this, and with a little clicker and what have you. You train people like a dog to see the money as their reward for obeying their master.
Yeah, but people find it hard to get their head around the possibility, shall we say, because I would say it's 99% fact, and Domestos can't beat 99% fact. It's
neither can asbestos.
It's the system when it comes to I've lost track of what I was saying about the money then.
How money's not worth anything, and as there's no actual real achievement. That it's just energy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically it. But what they've done is, through that birth certificate and the bankruptcy of this country, they signed us on. And I'm presuming that this is what because it's the same system, Vinny. You've been signed on to something through a registration, and that was meant to actually work for you, because you are meant to have an nth share. Like Great Britain, we're meant to be under austerity cuts. I've seen several articles referring to the office statistics stating that Great Britain's credit, I don't know what year this was worth 23 trillion. Now, as a registered citizen, my company is entitled to a 67th millionth, 67, 70 million of people in this country, if registered, are meant to have an entitlement of credit. Where else does my credit come from? It comes from the credit account that I'm floated on the stock exchange every day, because this system treats you as a stock. You are stock at value. That is it, because this system is based on our labour. It's a prepaid account. That's why your gas, water and electric are all free to a domestic property. If it's a commercial agreement, of course you're liable, because corporations pay the infrastructure. They pay the rates for the infrastructure. That's how it's meant to work. But if it's ever been like that, we've lost track of it, and it's been manipulated. And through being taught what, in my terminology would be grammar, and you're taught to use Mr. I remember my mum was very good at English, and she said, you put Mr. because of this, but you put the capital letter P and you do all this, and this is how you write a letter. Put the address over here. Well, putting the address over here puts you in the debtor's position. So my mum knew how to write a letter, but it's only what she was told. She didn't understand the meaning of why you'd use Mr., why you'd use the capital letters, why addresses are in certain parts of this letter. Because you just never think of questioning it. And neither would I. But once you start looking into it, you see how devious. If you can't prove fraud in this, what you can definitely prove is the fact there is some kind of secrecy going on about terminology and language. But what they say is ignorance of the law is no excuse. So the information's there. If you don't know it, tough. That's what they say.
Yeah. Here's the rule book. Boom. And if you don't read every single bit of it, we can screw you in some way. But if you don't read all that old book, there's no excuse.
And the fact is, if you don't go into that rule book, the very blatant fact is they cannot do anything to you, but they do, and they do it through using police. They do it through using private bailiffs. They do it through fines. They do it through making you pay the costs.
Henchmen and goons.
Yeah. It's become so blatant now because it's so far down the line. It's like everything is running out of steam. You see economies collapsing all over the world. I don't do coincidences, Vinny. I have to go and find some information, and whatever is left after all the investigation, however improbable, even the impossible must be the truth. And the fact is that there's so much going on. I can't research the information fast enough as it's coming in now, because I'm getting stuff from all over the world through to me that I'm picking up with, and everything is they're onto everything. The Ukraine, they broke into the administrative building. They challenged the police in the administrative building, and it was promoted as the police get beaten. This angry crowd was beating them. Yet I saw evidence of these half a dozen trapped coppers down the side of these stairs, and they were that tired fighting with these people. Somebody just leaned over and took the shield off them dead gentle, but then started dragging them, because it was like, he went gentle because he didn't want to get hurt, so he's like just pulling at it to see if he'll let it go. So then he could see he was knackered, and he just one quick tug and he was gone. Then they just piled in, and instead of beating them, they were dragging them and directing them out of the building. So the beef is not with the police, and I think the reason, I mean, some idiot American has said that the Americans wouldn't put up with this riot. They would use deadly force on their own citizens. So now you start to see, if that's coming out now, that this fella's saying that, now you see where the 2.5 billion rounds of hollow point ammunition and the 2,000 tanks are going, and the FEMA camps, that is all mainstream news. You know, the fact that you don't know what a FEMA camp is anymore isn't a good enough excuse. You can't put it down to
ignorance. I'd love that big billboard. Ignorance of FEMA camps is no excuse.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, man. And the way they're putting it to the people now is, I mean, I've just been watching these people at the Super Bowl, and they're just jumping about and shouting, "Yeah, woo, USA," and all this kind of stuff. And I've seen those kind of people ask questions. Somebody thought that President Kennedy only just passed away 3 days ago. In a Mark Dice interview. You know, because he's asking, what do you think about the legacy that he left? And he couldn't answer him because he didn't know. And these are questions that I certainly take for granted. You know, I had a mum and dad who had a lot of interest in news and stuff like that. I had to watch the news when I was a kid. You know, even though I didn't want to, I had to, because that's where they got the information from. And then when you realise just the difference between the information that is accessible now to what information was accessible then, you can see how easy it's been for them. You know, the internet was never designed for us to use. It was designed to take stuff from us, which, in fairness, you can see all in mainstream now with the NSA stuff and the GCHQ. It's rife everywhere. They're watching, monitoring everything. And it's
including the Vinnie Eastwood show. I want to welcome all the agents and surveillors and various other assorted scum to the show. Oh, we're just kidding. Sure. I know you're just doing your job and you're trying to protect your country from terrorists and what have you, but bear in mind, the terrorists are actually your employers, not the people your employers tell you to watch. Okay?
The thing is, they want to be these people who think that they are getting themselves on a winning team that's going to achieve something. That these people are as expendable as everybody else.
In fact, that's the first thing that happens whenever there's a huge dictatorship takeover. You have a look at what happened when Hitler took over Germany. Allegedly, he took out his entire cabinet days after the takeover. You know.
Knives, wasn't it, that?
Yeah. And because that's the thing. If you help the system get itself into place and you're a participant in the lie and the fraud, it means you contain information that can bring the lie and the fraud down from within and without, so they can't allow you to live. Okay? So if you're working in the current industry right now and you're helping them to bring their current surveillance state into power, you have certain information which can, and probably will, get you killed. Stop doing it.
Yes.
Start fighting against it rather than for it. Okay? You're not going to save your country or yourself. You're going to die, and most of your countrymen are going to die because of what you're doing, because of what you're not stopping yourself from doing. Yeah. That's the reality. It's pretty sad.
It is.
But everybody has to come to this realization in their own time, I think. You know,
exactly.
you keep your head down and you work real hard and you try to do the right thing until you realize at such a point that whatever you're doing has been the wrong thing all along, and the right thing's been right in front of you, knocking you in the face your entire life, but you never open the door.